Hi, I'm John and welcome back to my Lair of Action Figures. Today we're going to be reviewing another G.I. Joe figure from Sideshow. If you watched my previous video, they will be both together due to the fact that these are both desert versions of the Cobra Troopers or officers also. Now, if you watched my previous video, you know that I had a little problem while I was unboxing. So while the glue is setting on the other figure, we're going to be having a closer look at this figure. So of course, this is, like I said, the Cobra Officer from Sideshow. This is the desert version of it. It also came out in January 2011. The item number for this figure is 100079. Of course, the suggested retail price as its counterpart is $99.99. So of course this does not include shipping, nor does this include taxes. Of course there is no price for Europe due to the fact that Sideshow has not put any prices for Europe. So without further ado, let's have a closer look at what we get in the box, what do I think about the figure, the pros, the cons, and also you already know how good I like these boxes. These boxes are 10 out of 10. So let's have a look at the figure itself. So let's take a closer look at the box. Of course, you did see it spin, but what I wanted to do is give you some time to do a quick pause if you want to the video. So if you want to read the fight card, you can. Of course, like all Sideshow figures, this one has a magnetic over here, and of course you can open the figure and we can see everything we have over here. So of course, over here you have all the information for the gear loadout. Tells you that he has a AK-74. As the other one, he also has a Glock as a pistol. As you can see, we got a lot of magazine to fill up all these pouches. Same principle for different hands over here, plus the other one that makes a total of 6. As we can see, we get also the water bottles, we get of course the goggles, and over here we get our figure. The same stand as comes also with the sniper. It has this kind of look if it's like desert terrain. So of course, if you know G.I. Joe, you will know that the officers have the red mask, and if you know that the rest of the troopers have the black mask. So we're going to be opening this figure. Maybe what I'm going to do, I think most of the stuff over here is kind of similar, but if it's not, put a pause on. I've opened mine a long time ago, so I cannot tell you, but if you want to have a quick pause or have a look at it, over here, do that and put a pause on it, and you can have a closer look at the figure. Okay, so let's unbox. Let's hope we don't have run into the same problem as we did with the other figure, because this would be a bit of a 2 out of 2, and it would confirm why I do normally not like to do unboxings like this live, because this gets always a bit problematic and always a bit messy. So of course we're going to be pulling this one out over here. So of course we're going to remove this plastic so that we get a better look at all the gear we get in it. So of course, here we have it. So of course you have the AK over here, who is a pretty neat rifle, as you can see, the AK-74. So you do have, let's put it over here. So we do have the sights, we do have the magazine who comes off over here. Does remind me of a bit of an MP5 with the short barrel over here. As you can see, this also is foldable. I have to fold it in the right way. So as you can see, the Dragunov and this one also fold also pretty well. As you can see, the details are pretty neat. Of course, we don't have the barrel movement. You cannot load in the weapon, but itself looks pretty neat. You can of course move this and this may come off. So of course, as any good Cobra Trooper, you will get, like I said, a ton of ammo with these guys over here. This is always a pain to remove this over here. As you can see, you get a different little piece for the cannon over here, so it depends which one you want to put. If you want to put this on the end of it because you don't want the silencer, so that's the normal gun muzzle on here, who's over here. And if you want to use the silencer, then you're going to slide the silencer on the gun. And as you can see, oops, what's going on here? Okay, so looks like we have a zoom problem over here, but let's have a look There we go. So that's the silencer. Don't know what's going on with the camera today. Maybe tired. 1st of August. It's decided that it's not going to work because it's Swiss National Day. So, as you can see, the rifle itself looks pretty amazing. We're going to be having a closer look at it afterwards when we're going to be getting in closer. As you can see, we do get the same kind of knife over here. Does this one work with the rifle? Can you put it on? Yes, as you can see, oops. Doesn't side in the best way, but it was kind of done to be able to be put on as a bayonet. So yeah, it can work also. It's not perfect, but it's a nice little possibility to do if you want it. So over here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 charges for the guy. So he's not going to run out of ammo anytime soon. So that's something that I highly appreciate that a lot of companies do not do today. They put you a bit of mousse in it so that your pouches look full, and this is something that's a bit of a shame. So of course over here we do have the different gloves again. So I'm going to be showing you this over here. There's not much detail on it, but again, it is pretty basic and works pretty well. Of course, we have the goggles over here, who are really neat and nice over here, as you can see. So yeah, really some nice gear. Really loving what they did with this figure over here. Anyway, so let's dive into the second part of the box. We're going to put this one back over here because I need to tidy up, because otherwise I'm going to be running quickly out of space if I don't tidy up all the stuff. So let's put this over here, and we're going to be unboxing the next figure itself. Oh, of course, I nearly forgot that we have the Glock also, the Glock 17. So as you can see, pretty neat piece. Of course, same principle as most of the weapons from the time. Whoops. Okay, good job it's not a 320. I might have got a negligent discharge or just a discharge itself. So over here, we're putting this back in like this. And of course, you can see it is pretty neat for this kind of weapon. So let's open the second part of the box over here. So of course, we have our Cobra Officer over here. Let's move it a bit. So as you can see, the figure itself is pretty decent. Of course, it is a standard figure because, of course, we know that this is only just a simple redo of the original figure. Now, of course, you can see that the head sculpt is a bit different. It was pretty nice to be if you want to do some army building. I would have liked to see some more of this kind of head sculpts for it so that you could army build. Yeah, why not? Anyway, you have the pouches, you have the knee pads, you have the holster for the pistol, you have this knife bag over here, you have also the bag over here. Again, like I said, same problem. There's nothing in it. It would have been nice to get some mousse. Of course, the helmet is also identical to the one that you get with, of course, the Cobra Sniper. So let's put this figure down. Let's take out the stand and let's start tidying up all of this, and let's have a closer look at the figure itself. So now that I have brought down a bit the camera to have a bit better view, so let's have a closer look at the head sculpt over here. We can really see that Sideshow has done a really good job. Same principle. I like the fact of giving this cloth over here to be able to go over the mask and not have the printed one over here who's directly onto the face sculpt. Is something pretty neat. Like I said, I would have liked to have some extra heads like this. That would have made sense. Of course, if you compare it to the sniper, you can see that he does have, the Cobra Officer has these little bars who are extra, but most likely it is the same uniform. This uniform is also used on the regular Cobra Trooper or Cobra Officer that they made also. But as you can see, everything is pretty neat. I put some little plastic in here so to give it a bit of a more bulginess on it. And if I would have some magnets or some kind of heavily metal part, you could put it in here so that the backpack stands down a little bit more and gives it a more real approach to it. So, of course, I was talking about all these magazines. Of course, you can see they're pretty simple but pretty well detailed. and the fact of getting so many of them does make it pretty cool. So let's have another closer look at the rifle over here. As you can see, there's a lot of detailing, there's some weathering going into it. So yeah, it is pretty nice to have something like that. So of course, going to quickly redo this and put it like that. So personally, I think the silencer works also, but this works pretty cool also. Let's put this back in. As you can see, this does fit in, and if you clips it in hard, it does hold in place. So yeah, the legend that Sideshow has stuff falling apart and doing it has a certain truth to it, but not only that. Anyway, let's put the silencer on here because this would make sense to have it over here, and then clips it in. So you have the little dot over here. I don't think it can sit over here. You have a little dot, and then it goes in and slides in with the magazine. So I like to have this part over here done to go like this. And of course, let's put some magazines in the pouches while I continue. So of course, Cobra, for an army builder, this figure is pretty interesting. Of course, you will not buy tons of officers because you would more likely want to go for Cobra troopers, who would make more sense. Now, of course, as you can see, these are the same pouches who are kind of inspired by the US Army. And you can see these pouches over here are for the grenade launchers, for the Mike 40 grenades. So, of course, what I did, I put the extra part, who's for the front of the rifle. I put it here so we don't lose it. I think it's something who's kind of interesting to do if you don't want to, or otherwise you can store them into a different place. But I do like to have all my gear with the figures and have the extra hands stored somewhere else. Then I know that every figure has all the little parts again over there. So that's pretty nice. But like I said, really giving all these mags is something that I really do like. Now, if I have to be nitpicky on the figure itself, I'll go for the same kind of critique about having no, how do you call it? No protection for the goggles over here. Would have made sense to have some, but it's really nitpicking. After it's another part who's a bit hard with this figure, it is the fact that you have the helmet, and the helmet does not have any straps to it. So it may have a tendency of moving or falling off pretty easily. So if you can put it on, you really have to kind of put it in hard and push it down. But you can see it can pop out pretty easily. But I have liked to see maybe a way to hold it in place. Again, it's accurate to the figures because the G.I. Joe figures did not have any straps on them. So yeah, that does make it pretty accurate. But would it have been great to see that in 1/6 scale? Yeah, it could have been a little sweet add-on to the figure, because they would have made sense to be able to hold the helmet in place and not have it bobbing up and down on the head. As you can see, when he's all geared up with the goggles on the face, on the mask, on the helmet, I mean, the figure really looks pretty neat and looks awesome. I mean, I guess the classified will come to it sooner or later, because there's no way that Hasbro is going to miss out with the number of figures that they're making. They're going to be definitely making the Cobra Troopers and Cobra Officers. They already have the molds for the figures, so why not use them and paint them in sand color? It does make a lot of sense to be doing that. So yeah, why not do it? So I guess we'll be seeing this one also in the classified line. But for now, we don't have him yet in the classified line. And this figure is, like I said, really, really fantastic. Let's do a little swap of hands over here. Again, these pegs are so much better than what Hot Toys does about it. And you can see it does not eliminate any kind of heaviness to it, because you would say, well, these are a lot bigger, so you would feel like that they would be more of a problem in feeling bigger, but the arms look good. Everything looks good on the figures. So maybe Hot Toys should try to go on to larger pegs, because that could help instead of getting them broken. And also the good part about it, contrary to Hot Toys, well, every figure here does have pegs for it. That's not the case for Hot Toys. Sometimes they get stuck and all of this. So this way, it makes it a lot easier to do. So I'm going to put this guy afterwards on a little stand. I will be giving you my notes about it. So yeah, pretty good figure. Of course, we're going to be also talking about the collectible value. Now, of course, this comes as a bit of a more problematic due to the fact that these figures are sold out. Now, of course, our friends at Sideshow were getting a lot of flack from a lot of people regarding their products. Now, I can agree that some years ago that they would deserve this flack because some of their products were not so good. But over here, let's be honest, they did a pretty good job with G.I. Joe. I know that a lot of G.I. Joe fans were kind of complaining about it. But let's be honest, Hasbro did take off a lot of the imagery and the way the figures were made to make their classified lines or even their 25th anniversaries. When I will be diving into figures who are like the Cobra Viper or even some of the Cobra Troopers, you will see that the shape of the helmet, all of that has a lot of similarity with the ones that Hasbro made. So I think Sideshow got a lot of flack for these guys and didn't deserve it. So let's get into final thoughts. Do I think this is a collectible item? And what are my notes for this figure? So as you can see, there's another Cobra officer who came and joined the party. Of course, this is the joy of army building like I do. So of course I have some extras. I want to build a little squad that I want to go and take some pictures. I have some plans to do something with Dusty, with the diorama that Sideshow released. I will be also talking about that in another video. But let's go back into the figures. So while they're spinning, you can admire the figures in two different poses and be able to see all the gear under all shapes. Of course, this figure, it has a certain collectible value. I would strongly suggest, if you're a G.I. Joe fan, to pick them up pretty fast. Because these figures, with the way the market is going for G.I. Joe, seems to be a bit skyrocketing right now. There was some ups and downs, but right now it's currently up. So if you really want to get these figures and have the occasion to have them and not going to pay them too high excessive price, I strongly suggest that you pick them up pretty fast. You can still find them pretty easily on eBay. You can, if you do not care about the boxes, you would can pick them up for cheaper prices. Some people will be selling them, but I mean the box, if you don't have the box, it's a bit of a shame because that is for me a 10 out of 10. So yes, these have a collectible value, and like I said, go and pick them up now before the prices continue to surge and go up. It's a good time to pick these guys up. So now that we've talked about the collectible value of these figures, let's talk about the notes and my final thoughts about the figure. So of course, as I'm biased, I'm going to remove 1 point. So I'm going to give the figures a 9 out of 10. Not going to say that you're losing 1 point, but it's maybe a nitpicky part about me. But I would have liked to see maybe an extra head sculpt in the box with a different expression, so that or paint expression on the face, or maybe seeing somebody with a darker skin color. That could maybe be a bit problematic, but giving something with a different expression on the face. So if you're army building, you could get 2 different ones. Now, these do have a huge advantage compared to the regular ones that came out. They have goggles. The fact that they have goggles, you should pull the goggle over the eyes, and it becomes very hard to say that they all have the same head sculpt. The second part where you could call me maybe nitpicky, but if you know and have seen the review of my clone troopers from Sideshow, Sideshow really gave a ton of gloved hands. So that would have been nice to have some extra military pauses for the hands. This would have made it kind of cool if you're building up a squad to be able to give orders with the hands or pointing in a direction. So that's something that is missing. But except that, these figures for me are perfect, and I cannot say anything bad about it. Sideshow knocked the ball out of the park. Sadly, Hasbro was a pain in the ass to Sideshow, and that's the reason why we didn't get that many figures from Sideshow regarding the G.I. Joe franchise, but I'll be talking about it more in another video. So yes, these figures are really great, and that's why for the figure is going to get a 9 out of 10. The box is, of course, 10 out of 10 because this is what you ask for a box. It comes with so much cool stuff with, like I said, text, information, description of the weapons, file cards, something Hasbro needs to take note of because we need them for the classified line. The different configurations of the weapon. I mean, just perfect, and showing everything off like this really makes it enjoyable. Anyway, that's going to be it for the review of my Cobra Officer from the Desert version from Sideshow Collectibles. If you like this kind of video, please leave a like, share, comment in the section. If you have any suggestions, let me know in the comment sections. Of course, I haven't taken any pictures of these because I'm building up a squad to go and take some pictures. So if you want to go and check those pictures out, they will be on Facebook or on Instagram. The links are in the description. I already have some pictures up on Facebook of some other of the Sideshow stuff that I took in pictures, so you can go and check that out. Until then, I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!